Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of Missed Mando, a disc golf podcast covering the disc golf world. I'm your host, Robbie Holden. Joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu-Harris. Galen, let's go over to you first this time, my friend. How you doing, and what you been up to since our last episode?
I'm good, man. I've been trying to, place temporally when we recorded the last episode, as I was saying to you guys just a few minutes ago. So I'm not sure where exactly the line was drawn, but I've been doing a lot of traveling. First, I was in BC for 10 or 11 days, including like a transit day on either end. And then I was back in Milton in my home for about a day and a half. And then I spent 4.5 days in Huntsville. And this is like my first week back after like being home for like 36 hours in 2 weeks. So I'm just sort of taking it easy, chilling out. We launched our club over at Kelso, which has been going awesome. So that's running at the Kelso Disc Golf Course in Milton every Wednesday. We were initially rolling at 6:30, but the sun is just not cooperating as it does at this time of year. So starting at 5:30 going forward, we're going to be teeing off random mixed doubles. It's been an awesome time. First time for me running a league. It's been going pretty smoothly. We've raised a good amount of money for the conservation authority that oversees the park that Kelso is in. So a little bit of money from every round goes towards supporting the course and the conservation efforts, and the course, and the conservation authority in return does all the maintenance for the course. So it's sort of a little bit of, you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours, and we've raised a good amount of money for a good cause, and people seem to be having a lot of fun. So I'm loving it.
Response been to the additional 9 holes?
It's been good. There is a select group of whiners, and I'm not going to call them out, who are complaining the giant par 5 is too much. And I'm like, no, I like really hard holes. I get that, like, on a weekly basis.
And that is one of them.
Yeah, like on a weekly basis, maybe, you don't want to play one of the hardest holes in Ontario every Wednesday, which is why we mix up the format. But for me, I really enjoy it, man. Like, I love challenging myself. In the middle of the actual play, I'm going to be complaining about it. And the 35 trees that I hit on this, 700-foot par 5 that is through an entirely wooded fairway that is not yet fully manicured. As I'm throwing, I might be complaining a little bit. But, if you ask me objectively, I love that there are challenging holes like that and not just easy and medium ones. So that's all that's really new for me, has been doing that. We're through our first 4 weeks, and it's been going really, really well. Really excited about it. We're going to get as much of it in for this season as we can. We're recording this on August 19th, and like I said, we're losing daylight. So at a certain point, we're talking, do we transition to just glow? Do we start our league rounds regular? Do we transition to glow in the middle of the round? How we're going to find a way to squeeze as much out of this season as we can. And we'll see where that goes. We'll keep you updated on the pod. And the other thing that's Kelso related that we'll get to a little bit later, not that much later, but in a few minutes, I think, is we have launched registration for the Chain Link Conservation Series at Kelso the weekend of September 21st and 22nd. So that registration just opened up a few days ago. There are still a ton of spots left. And then much like the league and much like the first stop on the Conservation Series, which raised, I think, $300 and some odd, 367 is in my mind for some reason. Opportunity to raise a ton of money for a really good cause. I think as disc golfers, we can sometimes take for granted the natural space in which our courses exist, but we can't. We have to, I think, be intentional about the ways in which we preserve it and support the people that preserve it for us. So I love that it's going to be a tournament at my home course. I love that it's going to be going towards a good cause, and Jeff and Kara always put on a great show. So registration is open. There are still plenty of spots available, so check out the CCS. That's it for me. Like I said, no major events. We'll have a few between this and the next one, but I've just been trying to take it easy, guys. How about you, Shawnee G? What have you been up to lately?
2 weekends ago, played the Vivian Suqua Memorial, the 3rd annual, up at my home course of White Spruce. This is a fantastic super fun doubles event that put on by Mo at White Spruce. And this year was to raise money to help pay for the new tee pads that we're putting in at White Spruce. We raised more than $6,000 towards that project, and the results have really been pretty spectacular. A bunch of our club members are putting in a hell of a lot of work to put in some pretty spectacular new tee pads. Tee pads that, I mean, if you've played White Spruce, you know that they were needed. And the improvement that these new pads have already put in they're fantastic. They're really great tee pads, and there's a lot of them to do, and it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort by a lot of people, and it's great that the event was able to be such a smashing success and raise so much money. It was so much fun. Costume contests, putting contests, raffle, 50-50, so much great stuff going on, and all to a really good cause for the course. And then this past weekend, played the 38th annual Flats Classic down in St. Thomas. We're going to be talking a little bit more about this tournament coming up. I played very average for me, my average basically at half a stroke above. Came in my usual DFL last in the division, which is fine because I was rated last in the division coming in. And
it's been as normal for you this year, Shawnee G. That's
pretty normal for me, and I'm totally fine with that. I had up last. The course, I'd only played once before. It's a lot of fun, with the exception of coming down the hill at hole 9. That is in no way anything remotely resembling fun.
And Sean tries to give himself an advantage and tee off from like 3 feet in front of the tee pad. Mr. Rules Stickler can't even follow the rules.
Hey, if there's nothing that actually says where the friggin' tee pad is, these things happen sometimes. It gave me such a big advantage that I finished in dead last. Yeah. It was such a fun event. The course in tournament mode is so much harder, with OB pretty much everywhere. The fun ones are the ones that aren't listed anywhere in the caddy book. It was a great time. Had a great event. And we'll be talking about it pretty shortly. I saw you out there, Robbie. What have you been up to?
Yep, I was out there as well. There was a nice little return to competition after 2 weekends off for me, which was, for those that know me, out of the ordinary, me having that many weekends off in a row. But it was a nice break because I hadn't had a weekend off without a tournament since I think it was like the middle of May. So it had been quite a stretch, and now I'm back on track into a stretch to finish the year, the end of October with the Brawny Creek Classic. I have a tournament every weekend leading up to that now. Into a stretch of some really great tournaments too, that I really love. Sandy Hollow coming up this weekend. I absolutely love that course. Paris Memorial coming up. That's where I got my first win last year, and is a course that I love, but of course with that win just has like a little extra sentimental value to me now. And then of course the Rip coming up is super exciting. And I'm pretty sure for at least part of my stay at my Airbnb, one Mr. Philo Brathwaite is going to be joining us in our group, which is absolutely insane. I got asked to join a group with a bunch of people, said, yep, no worries. And then in our group chat, just one day, someone messaged, oh yeah, I think Philo and maybe Isaac will join us. Haven't heard more on Isaac, so I assume that's not happening, but Philo is in our group chat, messaging with us and whatnot. So that's going to be sweet. I can't wait to hang out with Philo and pick his brain a little bit, because I mean, he's a disc golf legend.
So you know what you should do is you guys should have a vote as a house, like have a big competition for who's the best commentator between you and Philo, and then whoever loses gets kicked out of the house for the rest of the weekend, and they can just hang with Philo without you. I mean, they can hang with you without Philo. Who said that?
I don't like my odds. I don't like my odds, especially if Philo isn't with Ian Anderson and they're not bickering at each other during commentary. Then I think Philo is really going to be whooping my butt in the commentary competition. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll bring Joseph Anderson up to Canada to sabotage Philo in that competition for me. But no, I'm super pumped for that. That's going to be a great time coming up. And yeah, the Flats Classic was awesome. I didn't play as well as I would have liked. I had only ever played that course once before on the Monday before the tournament for a practice round, which was awesome. And we'll get into it a little bit when we do our breakdown, but just learning more about the history of that tournament. Like you said, the 38th annual edition of that tournament. It's the longest running tournament in Ontario, possibly in Canada. I would have to do a little more research on that to find out for sure, but we'll get into some other cool stats about that course coming up as well, like the fact that it's the third course ever installed in Ontario back in 1983. Pretty rad. So other than that, yeah, I didn't have much going on. I would have loved to play in the Vivian Sukwa Memorial Tournament. I love Mo. He is an awesome guy. And the work that they've been putting in for the tee pads it's been mind blowing. I mean, it feels like every day I go on Disc Golf Ontario and there's a new tee pad that was done, just in that day. Like, they are grinding out there, and there is before the tee pad editions, and now most of the tee pad editions, at least so far, I'm pretty sure have been for shorts. So they don't really affect the tee pads that I play that much yet. They will get to that eventually. But if you had asked me what the worst tee pads in Ontario are, in 0.15 seconds, I would have said white spruce, in an absolute heartbeat, because those, like, a drop of moisture and you're on a skating rink, on those, plastic, rubber tee pads. So much needed at white spruce. Good to see it going there. And, yeah, that's basically it for what's been going on for me. So what do you guys say we move on to some Ontario news? And we actually got just a little bit of general Ontario news that I wanted to kick off before we get into our registrations and tournament breakdowns. The ODSA posted on their social media accounts that they are now fielding event hosting bids for the 2025 OCC Tour and are accepting applications until October 1st of this year. So if you're a tournament director, you want to get your tournament on the OCC Tour for next year. We had Oz on earlier. I believe it was our second episode we had Oz on, if I'm remembering correct. And I know he went over some of the advantages that you have as a TD when you register to be a OCC club event. Of course, that makes your event a provincial qualifier event as well, which I know when I'm looking for registrations, I'm always prioritizing OCC stops to try and qualify. Luckily this year I got in early, but like last year I was just grinding out OCC stops at the end of the year trying to get it done. So definitely helps with registration numbers. So if you're a tournament director, you're planning on running an event next year and you want to be on the OCC Tour, we will drop a link in the show notes. Shawnee G, thanks for doing that in advance. Tournament directors can go there. Or you can just go to the Ontario Disc Sports website, and I believe it's just right on their homepage. You can find it there. But moving on now to some upcoming tournament registrations. Shawnee G, let's go over to you.
There are so many tournaments coming up in the next 2 months. Starting off, we have the brand new open for registration Chain Link Conservation Series at Kelso that Galen was talking about. This is going to be a really great event, and you get to play the first tournament on a course that includes the new 9 and possibly the one of the most difficult par 5s in the province. It's going to be such a fantastic event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go because I'm already in a different tournament that weekend, but I assume, Galen, you will be there?
Just very quickly, so we were talking about how hard the hole is. I don't think it's been birdied ever yet, which probably isn't going to be shocking to anybody who has played it. But even in random mixed doubles with, some pretty stacked cards out there, nobody has taken down the birdie yet, to my knowledge. So I think a pretty strong case for one of the hardest, if not the hardest, holes in the province.
Certainly up there with Albion 16 as being for challenging, though a very different hole design.
Sure.
So definitely check out that one. Then other tournaments that are coming up, and there's so many. The Sandy Hollow Open is coming up next weekend. There are, I think, very limited number of spaces still available there. Then over the long weekend, the Labor Day long weekend is the Wild Country Challenge up in Fenelon Falls. That's a 2-day, 3-round amateur-only tournament. Camping on site. There's lots of spaces available there. September 7th and 8th is the Peacebridge Highland Open up at Highland Nordic. Some divisions on one day, some divisions on the other day. I'm playing on both days because I love this event and this course. It's super fun. I strongly recommend that one. There's another new tournament that just popped up, the Divide and Conquer. It's an unsanctioned tournament up at Harris Lake Park, which is up a little bit north of Perry Sound. Looks like a really fun tournament there. Then these are all the Peacebridge, Divide and Conquer. This next one and the one after that are all on the same weekend, so you have more than your pick of tournaments to play. You've got the end of summer farm frenzy at Winter Farms, and then you have the battle at the beach. If you're up by Sault Ste. Marie, got a tournament to play up there. Then September 12th at the Innova Rip, the big Q Series event happening out at Haute Goat. A tournament, or a clinic, I should say, with Philo Brathwaite, future roommate of co-host Robbie Holden.
Is it with Philo or is it with the boys?
No, the boys sold out. That's on the Wednesday. On the 11th.
They added a new one.
They've added this hot off the press, a brand new clinic with legend Philo Brathwaite, thrower of the Philobatros. And so that is going to be, there's only, I think, 28 spots. I've already snagged one of them. So definitely jump on that before it sells out, because it is going to sell out. Then if you're an old like I am, September 18th is a Wednesday, and is the Cold Creek Masters Classic up in King Township. This will be the latest in the series of Masters Division only tournaments that take place during the week, which is, I absolutely love this series. And so that's going to be the latest, the next installment of it. Then the busy September 28th, 29th weekend, you've got the Riverside Rumble in Belleville, the Muskoka Open up at Wolf Tracks, and the Wedge Open down in Windsor. Again, so many tournaments. I love it.
Love it.
Things start to slow down a little bit when we get into October. You don't have as many overlapping ones. You've got the Battle at the Bluffs down in Port Stanley.
One thing I wanted to just quickly say about that tournament, apparently, according to registration, you get to play your round with a golf cart. There's going to be, every card will get 2 carts, and it's 2 people per cart. So I've never seen that before in a tournament, but I'm excited about it.
And
I've done it once before up at the Knock in
Nice.
Thunder Bay. And I highly recommend it. It is so much more enjoyable.
I've never done it for a tournament, but every time I do a practice round at Foxwood, I always get a golf cart, because it's a whole different level of enjoyment.
Oh, it's so luxurious. Yeah, I'm a strong supporter of this. So the day after the Battle at the Bluffs, you've got the Wolfcat Classic at Trail Hub, which will be super fun on that mini toboggan-like course. Then the weekend after that, you've got the amazing Stone's Throw Fall Open out in Enterprise. Always a fantastic tournament. And then the weekend after that, if you're qualified, you've got Provincials up in Huntsville. And then a little bit after that, you've got the 28th Bronte Creek Classic. But and these are just the ones that have registration open. There's events that have already closed, and there's a few that haven't opened yet. The opportunities to play tournament disc golf we are so fortunate in Ontario to have so many tournaments and so many great tournament directors who put on these events and invest their time and blood and sweat into putting these things on for us. And yeah, it's fantastic. Get out there, register, play some tournament disc golf. It's so much fun.
Yeah, we are seriously spoiled.
Yeah, so spoiled, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's no shock to anybody that knows me to hear me say that I love competing in disc golf. Well, I think I play enough tournaments to make that pretty obvious. So yeah, get out there, play some tournaments. We are so blessed with not only just so many great courses, to also go along with so many great tournament directors that are holding great tournaments on these great courses. We are truly spoiled here in Ontario. So keep getting out, supporting those TDs. One thing that I actually, this is just kind of a side little tangent, but with registration for Peace Bridge, I noticed that I believe they offered the optional players pack there to keep costs down, which I've already seen it at some other tournaments. But they also had an option to tip the TD, which I don't know if that's like just something that every tournament can add into their registration fee. I had never seen it before, I don't think. But absolutely, I think that should be an option where the combination of the optional players fee to bring the cost down, but then to give some of that cost directly to the TD for their efforts, I think is absolutely perfect. Because realistically, I sell all my tournament discs that I get. I put them in a stack, try and make a little bit money back from the registration fees. I'd rather just not get those discs and put a little bit of money towards the TDs that are putting in all the effort to do that. So small little tangent, but we can move on now to a recap of some tournaments. Speaking of Ontario tournaments.
Yep. One more thing. It wasn't in the show notes. I forgot to add it. So as we mentioned, the Innova RIP is coming up in September. I am helping out. I'm the volunteer coordinator for it. And we have volunteer registration open right now. We've got lots of spots that we could use some help with. Tournaments don't run without volunteers, especially ones of this caliber, where we've got, top name pros coming here. And we would love for this to be a springboard for a future Pro Tour stop. And let's put on a good show for everyone, and that will take some volunteers. And if you would like to volunteer, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will send you the sign-up link. We're going to need spotters. We'll need people helping out with parking, tournament sign-in and check-in, random gophers, some course setup, and if you're available to help and you want to be up close in the action and watch it, we've got a spot for you. So reach out and let's make this an amazing event. Sorry, thanks, Robbie. You started to interrupt.
No worries at all, my friend. Definitely a good little side note there. Anybody that's around, volunteering to be a spotter on one of those days and just being out there watching the pros come through and shredding that course would be so much fun. If I wasn't already signed up to play in the event, I would probably be there as a volunteer myself, doing my best Sean Galbraith impression with the flags, waving them green like he is at Maple Hill every year. Gotta really bring it. Yeah, that's coming up for you soon. We're like 6 weeks away. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Disc golf season's winding down. I don't want to think about that. We don't got to think about that. We are going to start in our recaps with the Lake Ontario Open, which brings together 3 of Ontario's best courses into one tournament, with Newcastle, Cedar Creek, and Hope Goat hosting 1 round each for this 3-round B-tier event. I personally haven't been able to play Cedar Creek yet, but from all the reviews that I've heard, I have heard nothing but fantastic things about that course. Can't wait to go out and try it. And as we've talked about plenty of times on the podcast before, Newcastle and Hope Goat are absolutely fantastic courses. And to have all 3 of them in one event is fantastic. There unfortunately was a very thin pro field for this event, with friend of the show, Kat Johnson, taking an auto win as the only FPO competitor. And in MPO, it was a 2-person fight between Calvin Rorda and Carter Yeomans, a tight battle that saw Calvin come out with a 1-stroke win, his 2nd of the season. Elsewhere in the field, in his 200th career PDGA event, Greg Grutenborg gets his 54th career win and third of the year with a one-stroke victory in MP40. And in MP50, it was George Jensen who wins by a whopping 11 strokes for his fourth win of the year. Galen, let's go over to you, my friend, for some of your thoughts from the Lake Ontario Open.
Yeah, man, not a ton to add. Just wanted to shout out some, I don't know if we can call them friends of the pod. I think they're friends to all of us, but it's like, they haven't been on, but like personal friends who I saw with some nice performances. I think it's pretty standard at this point for us to shout out winners. I was just thinking maybe shout out a few people on the podium. I want to shout out Sebastian Rosinski, Seabass taking down second in MA1. Really solid finish from him. And Heather Gilmore, certainly a friend to all of us, taking down third in FA1. So great to see that. And at the pro level, always love seeing Double G take down a win. Sounds like it was a great event, and hope that everybody that was involved had a great time.
So the MPO final round, it was quite the battle, with Carter coming within 2 strokes of Calvin, with 5 holes to go at the GOAT. They were playing on the layout that's going to be used for the Innova Rip, which includes 8 extra long gold tees. Hole 1 is now like over 700 feet long, and this new layout is tough. The new hole 15 is extra long, an even longer tunnel shot before you come out into the opening, into a gap into an open, almost island green. And hole 16 longs to bag, Carter bagging a birdie on hole 16 is extremely impressive. That is a difficult hole. But I think the big battle was over in MP40. Going into the final round, Double G had only a 1-stroke lead over Brock Tierney and only 2 strokes over Daryl Nantes. And that is not much of a lead for those guys. After 11 holes, it was Double G at +3, Tierney at +3, and Daryl at +4. But I mean, if you know the GOAT, it is the back half that, as I say, the back half of the GOAT is what kicks you, and it definitely was doing that to players. There were no birdies on any of these cards from holes 12 to 18. There were 7 double bogeys, and it was basically like a war of attrition. And in the end, as Robbie mentioned, Double G had held on for the win. What an amazing fight in MP40. Shout out to some of the other winners. There was William Murphy Gelderman in MA1, our friend Jane Logan over in FA1, Matthew Ferris in MA40, Toronto legend Jack Coney in MA50, and Michael Wilson in MA2. Congrats to all of those winners.
Well, absolutely. Congrats to everybody out there at the Lake Ontario Open. Hopefully next year, as this tournament gets a little bit more traction, we see a bit of a bigger pro field, because it would be nice to see some other pros really battle out there on, like we said, some of Ontario's best courses. So, but shout out to the tournament directors for getting that going. I think maybe it was something that was a little late in like the announcement plans, and that's why maybe it didn't have the registration, but nonetheless, it definitely has the potential to be a great tournament with all of those courses coming together. But we are going to move on now to our next tournament recap, and this time we've got the next A-tier tournament in Canada, which is going to take us all the way out to Bourget, Ontario, and the awesome courses at Eddyville Superspin. For those that haven't been to Eddyville before, it's one property owned by tournament director John Pytel that features not one, but 2 awesome courses that have completely different feels. The Island Dunes has a bunch of elevated tee pad areas onto island greens, and the Dream Course is more through the woods, requiring tight gap hitting. There's a couple kind of like overlapping on both. Like the Dream has a few open holes, the Dunes has a few wooded holes, but for the most part, that's kind of the general feel they have, and it's totally different. Both on the same property, everybody kind of parks and camps in the field there. for the weekend, and it's just an awesome vibe. And this tournament is also a grind with some, not all, but some divisions playing 5 rounds over 3 days, going 2 rounds, and then a final round on the Sunday. That is a lot of golf to play, especially if you're skilled like us and you're throwing multiple throws. Then you get to play even more golf, like Shawnee always says. But we've got in FPO, Sandy Hendel put on a dominating performance. She led by 7 strokes after 1, 9 strokes after 2, 14 strokes after 3, and then 10 strokes after 4, and eventually winning by 9 strokes after 5 rounds over friend of the show, Alicia Hums. This is Sandy's first win of the year and 58th of her career, with 31 of those coming in Ontario. That ranks her 5th all-time in that stat. Of players with at least 5 pro tournaments played in Ontario, she also has the second highest win percentage of all time, a whopping 60%, behind only Elaine King and her 75% win percentage. Absolutely crazy numbers for Sandy. And over on the MPO side, it was Sandy's brother Martin trying to make it a Hendel weekend, but Cam Zanini came to battle as the two of them would separate themselves from the field, tying for first after 3 rounds, a full 10 strokes ahead of third place and the rest of the field. In round 3, Marty, however, would shoot his highest rated round since October of last year, a -11, 10:45 rated round, to take a 6-stroke lead into the final round, where Cam gave a great comeback effort, but a bogey on 18 would seal the deal and give Marty a 3-stroke win, his 3rd of the season, and avenge his loss to Cam at the Guelph Royale last month. His 61st career win in Ontario also extends Marty's lead in the all-time wins in Ontario stat to now, like I said, 61. I believe that puts him 10 clear of friend of the show, Chris O'Zolins, in that stat. Galen, let's go over to you, my friend, and let's hear some of your thoughts from the Eastern Canadian Amateur National.
Yeah, well, first, I'm just sort of off the top of my head kind of curious what the next closest rank would be amongst 2 family members for wins in Ontario at the pro level. I got to feel like maybe if you add a few from Nathaniel and Jane Anderson Renton, you got to have a pretty solid showing there. But I'm just thinking my way through. I'm like, I wonder, I have to imagine, Sandy and Martin are well in the lead for that stat, given their rankings overall, but I don't know what that list would look like. Should be some food for thought for a future episode. I also want to name and shame Sean and I, because we've talked in episodes past about the greatest Ontario disc golf power couples, and we were in our group chat earlier today talking about the episode, and I am going to shame you, Sean, but I'm going to shame myself at the same time. Sean was like, yeah, I forget the comment was. It was something like, yeah, wow, like what a power couple. And I was like, they are in fact siblings. And I also made that same mistake for years. I don't know at what point it was, but like as somebody that joined during COVID, I didn't find out until years after I knew of the existence of Marty and Sandy that they were related, not tied through matrimony. So our apologies to the both of them.
Not only did Sean get it wrong in a group chat or anything, he posted on our Missed Mando Instagram story saying that they were reminding who the real Ontario power couple was, only to have our buddy Miles Ladder reply to it and be like, yeah, they're siblings, right? And I was driving on my way to Flats, so I just got the notification, saw it, was like, oh, Sean, what did you do?
I didn't even notice that. That's fantastic.
Oh, Sean, what did you do is really... that might as well
title your autobiography.
Yeah. Now that we're done shouting out the Hendels and shaming Sean and I, the other things I would hit on are, want to shout out the players who aced in the event too. Mike Ishtenko with a 369-foot ace on hole 15 in round 1. Just disgusting. I can't even imagine. I could barely imagine throwing a disc 369 feet, let alone putting it into the basket at that distance. And also shout out to Zachary Brassard, who got hole 6 in round 4. And just as far as the play in general goes, I want to highlight that fight that we saw in MA40. So coming into the final round, Jeff Rowland had 3 strokes on Michael Lewis and Patrick Villeneuve. Patrick dropped off a little bit, though, and it was a 2-man race to the finish. And on hole 5, Lewis bagged an eagle on a 700-foot par 5. Just the clutch gene must be just flowing through this man's blood, picking up 3 strokes after he eagled and Roland bogeyed. But 2 holes later, he gave up his own 3-stroke swing back to Roland. So after the front 9, Roland was at -4 and Lewis at -2. Roland then went even over the back 9 and Lewis went -1, just short of what he needed for Roland to win by a single stroke. So intrigue, success from the Hendels, aces extraordinaire, a whole heck of a lot going on there. So let's move on. I think we've had a good amount of intrigue from that tournament. Why don't we throw over to you, Robbie, for the 38th annual Flats Classic, my friend?
Yes, sir. We keep on chugging, as I always like to say. And we head to St. Thomas, Ontario for the longest running tournament.
Be the second merch that we do, by the way. We've got our Missed Mando stuff. I don't know what it's going to be, but 100%. Just like Robbie photoshopped into a frame and just making a funny face, and it's got to say keep on chugging, conductor. So
appropriately, we go next to the railroad capital.
Done. I was actually there the other day. I drove past VA Barrie for the first time, and I was like, wow. There was a tournament going on. I should have stayed, but I had family stuff. Anyway, back to Robbie for a recap of that tournament.
Yes, we head to the railway capital of Ontario? Nice. We head to the railway capital of Ontario, St. Thomas, for the longest running tournament in Ontario. And like I said in the intro, maybe all of Canada, but I'd have to do a little more digging to fully figure that out. And it's the 38th annual Flats Classic at VA Barrie Park, which was installed in 1983, making it the 3rd oldest course in Ontario and 6th oldest in all of Canada. Crazy. It was super cool to be out there and looking through old champions from this event. Jeff Moulton won it in 1988 or something and is still playing an MPO this year at the event. I thought that was really awesome. So legendary course, legendary tournament. The first Flats Classic must have been unsanctioned because I can't find it on PDGA at all. But the second Flats Classic was held May 31st to June 1st of 1986 and was won by PDGA Hall of Fame members Bob Harris and Elaine King. Through the years, this event has been attended and won by multiple PDGA legends, including Scott Stokely, Juliana Korver, and Val Jenkins. This year, there was unfortunately no FPO division, but I do have to give a huge shout out to friend of the pod, Colleen McInnes, who instead of taking the auto win in FPO, competed in MPO instead. Kudos to Colleen for jumping in there and still having some fun. I know I ran into her twice in multiple backups on hole 9. Got the back up and watched Shawnee G tee off on that, which was fun. One of the two that I saw from him was great. The other was a little more rough. But yeah, shout out to Colleen for battling with the guys in MPO. And in MPO, after round 1, it was a tight battle with Ezra Lockington and JP Match tied for first, with Ryan Foote and Cole Redmond only 1 stroke behind. In the second round, though, Ezra would go out to shoot the hot round, and the second highest rated round of his career at 10:32, and he would end up cruising to a 4-stroke win, his first win of the year and first B-tier win of his career. Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you, my friend. Let's hear some of your thoughts on the Flats Classic.
3 shout-outs. First, shout out to Alistair Robinson, who was playing MJ18, and he is 10 years old, and he finished in 2nd place. That's awesome. Kid has got a really bright future in the sport, and you'll love to see him playing against older kids and taking them down. What also
he is such a good putter. It is insane. It is nuts.
When I grow up, I want to putt like a 10-year-old kid, apparently. Because I definitely do not now. What I also love is that, so round 1, the division wasn't playing the big hill on hole 9. And if you've played VA Barrie, you play up this steep hole 8, and then keep going up to the very top of the hill, where you throw down this steep, long tunnel, and the hole is like 500 feet long and
580.
580. Thank you. and it's so difficult. And there were 2 birdies on it across all divisions, across 2 rounds. None of them in MPO, I might note, but I'll get to that. And after round 1, the juniors, they were like, nah, we want to play the hill. And so round 2, they changed things up, and the juniors hiked up the hill and played the hill shot. And I love that. I love that they were like, no, we just because we're juniors, we want to play the full course. Let's do that. And so as a division, they decided we're going to switch it up. I think that's fantastic. Speaking of the birdies, shout out to John Hind and Clayton Axford at MA1, who were the only 2 people who managed to birdie hole 9 they did it in round 2, something nobody else in any division did. I saw one of the shots, and it was like 150-foot throw in. It was amazing. It basically total field ace territory. And then one more shout out to Chris, I think it's Coco, in MA1 for snagging an ace on hole 4 in round 2, the only ace of the event. I was playing in MA40, and it was quite the battle between Ian McCausland and Ed Holinsky. Ed started round 2 over Darren Anderson, two over the second round, 2 over Darren Anderson and 3 strokes over Ian. Going into hole 9, Ed was still up 3 shots on Ian. But hole 9, man, hole 9's tough. It was the scene of just huge backups all weekend, due to the extreme nature of just having to go down that steep hill. And then if your disc goes off into the rough, you got to look. It's tough. There were probably 4 to 5 card backups that lasted 45 minutes or more during the weekend. It was pretty rough. And then when it's your turn, you got to jump back up and have a difficult throw with OB and dense rough. And by the time that hole was done, Ed and Ian were tied. And then the back 9, Ian kept it clean and shot +1, while Ed unfortunately had a tough hole 12, and Ian was able to pass him and hold off a late charge and take the win down by 1 stroke for Ian's first win. So big shout out to Ian. Congratulations. Curiously, we mentioned OCC stop. This is an OCC stop. Ian, unfortunately, not an ODSA member, doesn't get a provincial ticket. Third place, not an ODSA member, doesn't get a provincial ticket. And Ed, member, is not planning on going to provincials. He's not able to go, but he did get his silver ticket for that. So always register for the ODSA. It's a good organization, and you can, if you win even unexpectedly, you punch your ticket to get to provincials. Galen, you got anything to shout out about this event?
Yeah, and just quickly on the way there, like we were talking before about the importance of supporting the people that care for your course, whether it's an organization or volunteers or whoever it is, look after the folks that are looking after you. I think the same concept totally applies to the ODSA. I think it's pretty obvious for a lot of us that are disc golfers these days to register for the PDGA on an annual basis. I've been an ODSA member since I found out about its existence. There's a bunch of benefits, and they do a ton of work to keep disc golf rolling in Ontario. So, if you haven't already yet registered as a member, do that. And if your membership has lapsed, like mine did, like a week or 2 ago, I haven't yet, but I will before my next event, renew it, because you want to make sure you support the work that they do. Just a couple really quick.
You can set it up to auto renew, so you don't even have to think about it.
I didn't know that. Maybe I didn't click that box last year, or it didn't exist.
Click that box.
Now I know. Click that box for sure. Also want to quickly shout out, I mean, we already sort of talked about Ed for a while, but I always like to shout out friends of the pod. So seeing Ed Holinsky take down second, love seeing that in MA40. We talked about, I think it's been a long day. I talked about Jane taking down FA40, Jane Anderson Retton by a pretty wide margin. But in second, want to shout out Lynn Wynn. Love seeing her take down a second in a pretty competitive field. And then also Taylor Quigley took down the auto win in FA2, but I'm pretty confident she would have won anyway because she shot 44 points above her rating that weekend. So just a nice tidy bit of disc golf, and nobody for her to lap, but congrats on the win, Taylor. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add. Maybe Robbie, I'll throw to you if there's anything you want to add, or if you want to set up our friend who's going to be joining us in just a few moments here.
Yeah, nothing more for me to add, I don't think, from the tournament. Just we've got a great interview coming up. We've got MPO champion from the 38th Annual Flats Classic, Ezra Lockington, coming on to join us. And we'll be right back on Missed Mando with Ezra. Our next guest is an up-and-coming pro to surely keep an eye on. Joining the PDGA in 2020, he was the MA1 Ontario Provincial Champion in 2022 before going pro in 2023, and now he's having a breakout season in 2024 with 15 of his top 20 career highest-rated rounds coming in this season, including 1046 and 1023 rated rounds at the Syracuse Open, where he was able to get on the final round lead card, which was filmed by Gatekeeper Media, and you can go check that out on YouTube. This past weekend, he shot the second highest rated round of his career, a 1032 rated 9 down, en route to his first B-tier MPO win at the 38th Annual Flats Classic at VA Barrie in St. Thomas. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Missed Mando podcast, Ezra Lockington. Ezra, thanks so much for joining us, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. We are so happy to have you, and congrats again on your win at Flats. And let's start there. You had a solid first round, shooting -6 and going into the final round tied for first before just running away from the field and winning by 4 in the second round. What was your mindset going into that final round that allowed you to put your game into another gear and really lock it down for that win?
Yeah, so the 6 under on the first day, I felt like that was a pretty good round. I definitely had a little bit of a mental hiccup after a 40-foot wait on hole 9 to keep playing, so I didn't really keep moving enough, and then I threw my drive pretty straight right out of bounds on hole 9 down the hill at VA Barrie, and it kind of shook my mojo, my flow I had going on, and I kind of went stale up to 17, and I was able to card an eagle on 18 with a pretty good drive and secure that 6 under. So going into the final day, I knew I had a couple people in contention, but I really knew I needed to lock in, and I had 2 great caddies following me for my rounds. Shout out to Dawson Lowen of Elmer and Dresden Solar. They were just they were supporting me the entire day. They were just catering to my needs, and I tried a couple new mental tricks where I just I took a Rubik's Cube out on the course, and I had like some doodle notes, and I had my music going, and I was just trying to tune out whatever like thoughts there was about the round, about the scores, anyone else, what they were shooting. And yeah, my mentality was just like, you got to lock in. You can't really do anything but play your own game and fix the few minor mistakes you made from round 1. So I was able to do that pretty good, and I didn't leave that flow state for the entire tournament, that last round.
That's awesome. Actually, I mean, much lower stakes, but I had a similar experience for my first win of the year 2 months ago, where there was like a 35 or 40 minute backup at Dreammaker. And I was at the time, I was either tied for first or I was in first by like a stroke or 2 in like MA3. But still, like for me, that matters. So I was like, I had 40 minutes to just like get in my head. And then after this entire weight of like being cold, just like threw it into maybe not the first, but like the second available treat. I was like, come on. But then locked it down in round 2. So maybe I'm just like a much worse version of Ezra Lockington. You heard it here first. I am curious though. I don't know, like, have you played VA Barrie before? I just drove by it the first time yesterday, and I hear there's a lot of OB. So I'm curious if you did have a strategy going in because you played it before about, maybe being a little more conservative or aggressive. But is it a course you played before? And what was your mindset coming in for how you wanted to approach it?
Yeah, definitely one of my home courses. Like Elmer's my home course, and then St. Thomas is about 15 to 20 minutes away from home. So I'm not going to lie to you. I spent countless hours, just like almost every other day I was there. I was just like locking in what shots I was going to do and making sure that it was foolproof, that even if I threw some errant shots, I just knew how to get the birdies on the holes, and really just went in knowing that I could do it. So I had formulated that strategy that, you know, you played the course so many times, you know exactly how to do it. And yeah, there's out of bounds, but just, you know how to avoid that. And I definitely prepared enough in that sense. I wouldn't say, so like for some of the other tournaments of the year, I wouldn't have been practice putting as much as I would have liked to, or like I definitely threw a lot of rounds, but before the flats, I was definitely practice putting a lot. And I was like, you know how to throw every hole, and you just got to lock in on that putting. And going into it, I had played so many rounds. I definitely knew that if I was going to take down a B tier, I was going to make sure of it this weekend.
So round 2, you're coming in, you know you're tied. Are you tracking the scores as you're playing, or are you sort of ignoring the scorecard until when are you no longer ignoring the scorecard? And then second, how the heck did you eagle 18?
Yeah,
that is not easy at all.
Yeah,
I'm more impressed by the fact that he eagled hole 14.
14,
which is like a 500-foot just dead straight shot.
500 foot though, like
Wild.
It's pretty. There's a lot of sky. That's just, I mean, young kid, he can like throw far. So you just throw far and then throw slightly less far. But like 18, you got to throw a decent amount, and then it's just like Plinko gallery of trees.
Definitely impressive. Yeah, definitely impressive.
So one, are you looking at scores? Are you changing your strategy based on how things are going, or you like ignore it until like one of the other guys, Ian in MA40, didn't know that he won until the tournament was over?
Yeah, so to answer your first question there, I did not check scores. I did not check scores even on, so I got up to 17. I got up to 16, and I had a 40-footer. It was kind of a mental block. I kept throwing that shot into the ground. So I had like a 40-footer, and I just kind of looked at my caddies, and I was like, do I have to lay this up? Should I run this putt? And they didn't really know how to check the scores for me really quick. So one of my hard mates was like, no, you should probably just chip it up under there. And I wasn't asking them for scores. I was kind of making it clear, like, you know, I don't need to know the scores, but should I? Like, do I need to even run this? And he's like, well, at this point, really, you're just going for rating. And I was like, all right, that's kind of comforting to know. Kind of comforting to know. But
what did that mean to you? You're just going for rating. Did you take that as I've got this on lock, or did you mean that as I have no chance, so let's just try and make it as good as I can?
I took it as I had it on lock, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I switched up my game plan on 17 for the final day because my forehand, I maybe threw a few forehands all weekend, but I was mostly backhand dominant. And so we had a little bit of a headwind on hole 17. So I just switched my play to a backhand turnover FD. And it was a pretty good shot. It just kind of hit on a little bit of an angle, rolled to circle 2. About like a 35-footer, and I hit the cage. I'm not gonna lie, my putt was a little bit off on round 2, even round 1, but mostly round 2. I would say my driving definitely carried me for the most part. Like, I was able to put it within like the 15-foot range for most of my birdies, and that eagle was from about 20 on 14. But yeah, I wasn't checking scores. JP Match on my card was checking his Instagram stories on the last hole right before we teed off. And my buddy Disc Golf Joe, that's Joe Vanderveen. He's one of my best buddies, if not my best disc golf buddy, and he always helps me out, and he's just a class act, and really helped me with my game and mentality. and just he's a great friend as well. He had posted on his disc golf story, and JP just randomly scrolled to his story, and it was like Ezra Lockington locked in, and I quickly like saw the scores, and I just saw like 15 under, which I knew in my head, and then the second place was at like 11, and I didn't really see the scores, but I kind of knew like you've got strokes to work with on 18. So I just did the same play as round one, tried to, juice a disc up there and get maybe a look, but kind of came out early, kicked off a tree. We thought it was going up into like circle 2, but it kicked out of bounds, and then I just saved a par from about like 90. I chipped it up and had like a 10-15 footer, which was a little bit unfortunate because I was trying to crack the double digits there at the end, but it is what it is. And to answer your second question, the first day on the course it was a ripping headwind. I'd say it was like 30-40 kilometers an hour, and I just took my most overstable PD2 and I just tried to throw it flat, maybe a little bit of turn on the right side, and that was kind of my play in practice, except for I used my less stable one. But yeah, my most stable disc, and it turned, and it's not really supposed to turn. And anyway, it turned, and then it skipped up to about 36 feet, and then I just leaned out right side, didn't like the lie, leaned out left side, and I told my buddies, like, I'm going to make this, and just put it bottom left pocket to finish that round.
Total flex. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks.
Got it on film too. I don't know if you have that on your Instagram yet, but you got to get that uploaded so you can show the people what you got.
Yeah, it was on the story. Yeah, I'll probably add it in my post. I guess I'm a little bit late to that.
Slacking. You're a whole day late. You can't wait 24 hours. Come on, Ezra. Jeez, man.
Exactly. Get on it.
I don't know. In my head, I don't know what's the more impressive feat. I mean, a couple impressive feats that you've had from this weekend. The Eagle on 18, the Eagle on 14, or going long OB on hole 9 on a almost 600-foot hole. I mean, it is way downhill, but
yeah,
that is for my noodle arm, that's the stuff only dreams are made of. But I also mentioned in your intro that you're having a breakout season. You've got 15 of your 20 top rated rounds coming in this season. Was there anything that you did in the off season that helped lead to the consistent play that you've had? And is there anything that you're continuing to work on your game right now?
I like that 15 of the top 20. Okay, so the off season really was just practice putting a little bit in the winter and like kind of trying to keep my arm moving and like keep my form consistent. And then early season, we went in March as a family to Florida. So I got to throw a couple rounds in Florida, and obviously you're not really accustomed to throwing in the winter time. So those weren't like the best rounds of the year, but it was nice to throw. And then I think it was in April like 7th, I had my first tournament in Michigan. And definitely the week or two prior to that, I was just like getting my reps in throwing. I was probably practice putting a little bit. That's probably where I've been slacking the most, in all honesty. But yeah, I was prepping real good for that Michigan tournament, and started the year off with the 1,005 rated round, which was kind of a rarity last year. But I was able to make it a little more common this year, I'm happy about that. And then the second round of the year was a little bit unfortunate, like some grip issues. I felt like I had a good chance at getting like a top 5 at that tournament. Really wasn't anything mental, really just the physical aspect of not having any grip. But yeah, I was prepping for tournament season, had better mindset than the beginning of last year. The end of last year was when I really started to it started to click, like you can actually play good rounds in the MPO, your mental game, you can switch that, you're getting more consistent. I kind of brought all that momentum into this season, and yeah, it's gone pretty well. I've had some ups and downs. Obviously, the Guelph Royale is one of those. But just trying to push through that and, get on to the next one. With every good finish I get gives me more motivation to get prepped for the next tournament. And so I'm going to Michigan in a couple weeks with Joe. Really excited for that A tier. It's the CCR Open. It's a Disc Golf Pro Tour Q series. And to answer your second part, what am I doing to, keep myself in contention at like these tournaments throughout the year? Really just throwing a lot and making sure like that the mechanics are working, that the shots are going where I want them to. And then obviously one thing I need to work on is my putting. Like if I can get that down, obviously in Syracuse, I had 2 of the best putting rounds of the year. And that was the first 2 rounds. And so if I can do stuff like that, I feel like I can be more consistent already than I even am. So I'm excited to see what the potential is. I know the more work you put in, the more you get out of it. So bringing that into the rest of the season.
Just a quick little follow-up for you there. When you're talking about getting more and more throws in, are you more of a field work guy, or are you like go out and play around and like take multiple tee shots kind of guy? How do you kind of attack your practice?
Yeah, I mostly do a lot of rounds and just like I throw multiple shots. We don't really have many pro level courses around. Like VA Barrie would be a notable one, but again, it's all par 3s. London is a pretty good pro level course in the long tee pads, but I would say that I should be doing more field work than I do. But sometimes it's easier for me to after work just go play around with the friends and like stay loose, and I could do the field work. I feel like I should do the field work. It's not always something that I like doing, but definitely should be doing it more, especially working on that forehand going into the rest of the season and my putting.
Yeah, well, you get the right attitude. I mean, you're working hard and you're still trying to find ways to work harder. So love hearing that. So you joined the PDGA in 2020 and played your first sanctioned event in 2021. Curious what or maybe who first got you in the sport, and then once you were into the sport, what got you into being interested in competing?
Yeah, that would be my dad. He's been playing disc golf for about 20 years now. He used to be quite better than me, I think. And so yeah, I started playing in May of 2020, and I think that right after my birthday in December, I got my PDGA membership in 2020, just looking, get a number, get ready for the next season. And I would say that I taught myself like the form and mechanics. My dad just kind of like took me out on the course, as a kid, but like I didn't play at all. I just went for like a round every like few months when he went or something. But I started playing a lot in May of 2020. I think that's the date. And I would just like, I was in like grade 9 or 10, just go to the course after school and just play round after round after round. And then like, the thrill of like getting a new disc and seeing what it does, that's always fun. Obviously now I'm restricted to one brand. Shout out Discmania. So what gave me the drive to play competitive disc golf was probably I was having lots of fun just playing casual rounds, and I was probably like, how can we take this to the next level? It would be fun. You can try some new courses along the way, play some tournaments, meet new people, stuff like that. And then I played my first rated round at Winter Farms, and it was a very beta version of what the course is now. It was very all over the place. There was like muddy tee pads. I was slipping up and down hills on a few of my first tournaments there. And I don't know why I chose to play there. It was probably just like an easy to sign up C tier. I ended up taking second place in like the purple division or something. It was probably like an MA3. or MA4, probably MA3 level tournament. And I shot like a 937 and like an 860. So I could have won that one. Josh McMullen's really good at playing in the Brantford area. He took that one down. But yeah, that's how I started playing tournaments.
I remember those, was it the TNDG series or something like that at Winter Farm?
Yep. And they had one at VA Barrie, so I played that one as well.
I think my first ever tournament was one of that series at Winter Farms, and I think I'd been playing like 2 months, and I did like a plus 31, came in dead last, which is the Sean Galbraith Memorial position on the scorecard, and it was so much fun. It was pouring rain. Anyway, yeah. So you clearly caught the tournament bug early, and you've been crushing them ever since. Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite or standout tournaments that you've played, and what are ones that you have coming up that you're really looking forward to, or like I aspire to get to play to this tournament in the future?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The one that sticks out the most for like upcoming tournament reasons and just everything surrounding my professional career now is like the 2022 provincial championships in Muskoka at Bondi Village. We played one round from shorts, one round from longs, and I think I won it from the chase card. I think it was the chase card. Yeah, the leaders shot like a 9.876, and then the second round, like 3 out of the last 4 like top players like shot mirror rounds in the positives, so they ended like even, and then one guy shot like a +1. I was able to shoot like a 3 under from the longs at Bondi, and really it was a pretty good round. I had like a birdie in the middle and like a lot of bogeys, but I had a birdie eagle stretch where I eagled a par 4 with a huge uphill putt. And I just remember my uncle was caddying me, and like we were like in the focus zone, and he was really good at the caddying job, and he was just like, whenever I like hit trees, he's like, all right, enough chopped wood, like start a fire now, and like let's get this round going. And we were just like trying to stay positive and, you know, throw the good shots, and I was able to take it down from the chase card. And again, I wasn't really checking scores. There were just some people on the card, and they were like nodding along. They're like, yeah, you're killing it now, or like stuff like that. And I'm like, awesome. And I just remember I was like so excited after I finished. I was like, gotta tell everyone. I gotta tell my dad, like Uncle Didi, the guy that caddied me, my uncle. I was like, we did it. And then that was just the turning point. That was so awesome. I got like 6th at Bronte Classic that season, a couple tournaments later, or the next one. And then I won my final MA1 tournament, the Guelph Royale. The Guelph Championship finale. I shot like a 995 rated round blind on Victoria Park, and was able to take that one down as well. Again, I don't think I checked scores till like the last hole or even after the round, and then we just watched the people come in after on the scorecard. So yeah, Ontario Provincial Championships 2022, that last MA1 win, 100% Syracuse is up there for probably the most memorable tournament. Yeah, I stayed in an Airbnb in Syracuse, New York with I think it was Syracuse with Joe Vanderveen and Kaylin Schatt, and we went to practice. We got a full practice round in at Van Buren, and then we went to Clay Park West, I'm pretty sure. And we got through like maybe 6 holes, and it started it was pouring, the biggest rain droplets I've ever seen in my entire life, and we were drenched within like a minute. So we sprinted back to our car. Everything got soaked. The car got soaked, And then we start driving down this road. His front like window, the whole glass just starts fogging up. It's like blue, it's cloudy, we can't see anything. I thought we were gonna like get in an accident. Anyway, Joe, talented driver, Mazda 3, he told me that morning, never had any problems with this car. We pull over to the side of the road. This Mazda 3 decided to have its worst day of its life on that tournament day when we were trying to practice for Syracuse. And anyway, something with like his timing belts all his belts decided to fail. His power windows failed. His air conditioning failed. We were stranded on the side of the road. So we're there for like an hour. We call tow trucks, try to figure out which one's like the cheapest and stuff. And then they come pick us up. We Uber to our Airbnb, and then we don't have any practice on the Clay Park East. It's 3 rounds on 3 different courses. So we go in and we shoot at Clay Park West first. I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. And I'm playing mostly, I think we practiced like 6 holes or something. Maybe we practiced more. Anyway, I was playing mostly blind because we went early in the morning. We practiced most of the route, so there were only a few holes we didn't know how to play. And then I shot like an 8 under. It was officially 10:27 after the tournament, and so it was like 8th place or something. And then the craziest thing was we played the course that we didn't get any practice on. And Joe and I maybe practiced 5 or 6 holes before the round.
That's enough. That's fine.
Yeah, it's enough. Yeah. You don't need to practice.
No.
It doesn't make a difference.
No.
And so I go into that course, mostly blind. Like Chris Brown from Ontario was there, and we asked him, like, what's the course like? He's like, man, it's super hard. Like, if you kick off the fairway, bogey at best situation, like, it's a super hard course. So I go in thinking, like, kind of like that. Anyway, I'm on a card with Kalen Schatt. I'm on a card with Ethan Yager. And I'm on a card with Chris Brown. So Ethan and Kalen were the 3 young guns. And then there's obviously Chris Brown. Nice guy, too. But Kalen and I really hit it off with Ethan. And we just start playing. I think we got like a star frame on the first hole we played, which was like hole 3 or 4. And then I missed a couple that they got. And so then I just kept throwing the shots. And Harry Chase is a professional from Rhode Island. He's like Discmania sponsored, like 10 something rated, near 1020 or like at that level now. And for the round, he gave me, because my method wasn't stable enough, so I asked him if he had any methods, and he's like, yeah, I've got this one in my car. It's actually from Simon Lazotte's house. We were, Paul Kranz and I, when we heard Simon Lizotte was leaving Discmania, decided to let us, like, I'm not going to use any of the discs. Come and take what you want from my collection. So he's like, this is right from Simon's collection. So I'm like, awesome. I threw it maybe 2 or 3 times, and like on those practice holes, I threw that method like 5 or 6 times that round. I'm pretty sure every hole was a birdie. So it's sometimes like that with a new disc. You kind of know exactly how it's going to fly. And then that netted me like 5 of the 10 or 4 of the 10 birdies that I got. I shot bogey free, which was not what Chris Brown said. But so a bogey free 10 under, best round out of 77 people. And that moved me up. I was like first place through 16 or 17 holes. And then I finished the round, looked at scores. Kalen's like, I hope you like crazy rated rounds and lead cards or something like that. Or like film rounds. And I'm like, or he's like, I hope you like leading a tournament and film rounds. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what? I did this now. And so I was super happy about that. Final day didn't go ahead, but we watched it, and all my friends and I, we kind of agreed I was slightly off. It wasn't anything mental because I was like keeping pace the first 3 holes, and then my putt was slightly off, my throws were slightly off. But there's some highlights in there, good stuff to look back on. Definitely a memorable tournament because it just solidified the fact that, like, you know, it's easy to doubt sometimes, but now I know, like, you can compete at a high level in these big tournaments. So that was like my highest cash at the time. Now the flats is my highest cash by like $5 or something over that tournament. But then the flats would be the next memorable one. So
how'd you like being on coverage?
It was quite awesome. I got to play with Ethan Yager again. He's from Pennsylvania, and it was fun. I didn't really notice the cameras as much as I thought I would, but I threw some shots that I thought were pretty good, and then they would just go out of bounds or something. I was trying to keep a good attitude, but I was definitely like down. I was a little discouraged during the round, but I finished pretty solidly. I mean, I got a birdie or two going out and just kind of let all the emotions out on one hole. I just put it all into my drive and just like boosted one way up the fairway up this hill. And then like, that was nice to see on kind of range. They're like, oh, that's like a great shot. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of needed that at that moment. But yeah, it was nice to be able to see myself like playing with some of the top pros at that tournament and meet some new buddies as well. So yeah, that was awesome, that experience.
Fuck yeah. So you've mentioned a couple of times now that you're playing on Team Discmania this year. How did that come about originally? Did that have anything to do with Joe and him being on Discmania? I know you mentioned him a couple of times and how close you are. And how are you enjoying Discmania so far? And what are some of like the must-have discs in your bag that you're really leaning on right now?
Okay, so definitely last year, I remember I was heating up near the end of the season, and then at the beginning of this season, I didn't have a sponsor. I don't know if I went to the first event with a sponsor. I think I did. But anyway, the plan was to be open bag, and then Jeff Malton was playing the Flats Classic this year. He's like a longtime pro. He rivaled Ken Climo back at the old World Championships, local legend, awesome guy. And he's really for supporting the juniors. And he's super nice, does a lot of work at the flats, and super nice guy. He originally I was going in open bag, and then we kind of started talking about like potential of like being on Team Discmania, and he's like, you know what, I'll put in a word with Avery Jenkins for you. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be awesome. Didn't really expect much of it because I've like emailed Avery a couple times, and I had like not gotten a response that I would have liked about being on the team. Just like try to be at one of our combines or like apply on the team page. But anyway, Jeff really hyped me up to Jeff Malton or to Avery Jenkins, and the last time that Jeff Malton recommended someone to Avery, it was Chantal Badinsky, and Avery didn't pick up on it. So I think this time he was like, maybe I'll listen to Jeff or something like that. But yeah, Jeff tries to see the best in all the up and coming players and try to see like the talent. So Avery gave me a chance, put me on the junior team. It was the latest edition, I'm pretty sure, of the year. There might have been a couple added after me, but he was able to put me on the junior team, which I was really gracious about, or happy about. So that was how that came around, and definitely a switch from playing on Team Prodigy last year, where I didn't feel like I had all the molds that I needed to like throw like far reliable shots. But definitely right away switched to Discmania. I had access to the PD2s, PDs, FDs, MD3s, like all the good discs that like disc maniacs and casual players play with alike. So immediately I was able to rely on my discs a lot more, and I had thrown 80% Discmania, even open bag, so I knew like what I was throwing. And immediately that gave me more confidence, definitely going into tournaments. That was also what was helping at the beginning of the season. I was like, now I know, like I can rely on the discs. I can just trust the shots, and know what they're going to do. And so that was awesome. I thought it would be a little more of an adjustment to start putting with lengths, but I picked up on it pretty quick. I'd say I was probably a little better of a putter earlier this year, but it's kind of been weird. I normally figure out the putt like a couple days before my tournament. Probably could be avoided just having those rough streaks with my putt if I were to like make it muscle memory and do the putting practice. So I think that's definitely next on the list is like putt every single day, so that it becomes muscle memory. But some molds that I would definitely recommend are DD3s. They go so far. PD2s are good for long distance with a lot of fade, and you can trust them in the headwinds. FDs go dead straight for a fairway driver. MD3s are great for dead straight with a little bit of fade. MD1, man, I love so many of the discs. Tactics, reliable for forehands. Lengths, love putting with them. I could go on and on. Discmania makes great discs, great plastic. I love it.
Shout out Discmania. I got one little quick follow-up for you. You mentioned Jeff Moulton, and I went back and I got kind of lost in PDGA archives looking back at old records of the Flats Classic, and you're now joining a list of champions from the Flats Classic that include multiple PDGA Hall of Famers and legends, including Scott Stokely, Jeff Moulton, like we said, Michael Sullivan, PDGA Hall of Famer, Bob Harris, PDGA Hall of Famer, Marty Hendel, and then on the FBO side, names like Elaine King and Juliana Korver have taken this tournament down as well. Just hearing all of those legends of the game and now your name being on that list of champions as well, how does that hit your ears? How does that make you feel?
That's amazing. I'm really grateful for the experience and just being able to be confident that I know how to win it, and then go out there and face the hiccups, face the good shots, and just know like there's the in between. You know how to do this. You don't need to get fed up on your bad shots. Just keep doing what you're doing, be consistent, and that's so awesome. Last year I got second place to Marty. He really ran away with it, but I wasn't even half the player I was last year, and I was still able to almost average 1,000. I didn't shoot above 1,000, but it was a pretty decent payout and definitely fun rivaling him. He was also I didn't mention it, but he helped me out with my form when I was a little bit younger. I didn't have an X step when I first started, and as soon as him and Ryan Foote just said like, do an X step, I just gained the power, and then just kind of been trying to improve on that ever since. So he helped me.
Marty's a legend.
He is a legend. He has given me some advice. I've rivaled him at some tournaments. Marty's great guy too.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Well, speaking of legends and players that we've seen on the Pro Tour, we were taking a look at your upcoming events earlier and see that you're playing 2 Q Series. So dipping your toes into the Pro Tour waters. Is maybe getting on the Pro Tour someday something you're thinking about? And if so, can the Pro Tour handle having 3 Ezras? And how do I figure out who's going to be the greatest Ezra of them all? Because I have no idea where you start.
Oh boy. Yeah, definitely. I'm really just I'm working full time now, saving up some money. I might go to Bible college in Vancouver next year, but I'm definitely looking towards going on the Pro Tour in the next coming years. I don't know if that's a year. I don't know if it's 2 years, but definitely whenever I gain consistency, and if your rating's a little higher, it's easier to get into those events when the Tier 1 registration opens, instead of rushing when like Tier 2, Tier 3 open. But yeah, starting with those Q series, I think that'll be good experience. Just treating it kind of like an A tier. And if the points come, the points come. yeah, I'd like to gain some experience with that, and definitely I'd say that the Pro Tour caters more towards like larger arms, and sometimes I hate the fact that Ontario courses are like 250-foot shots. It kind of hinders me when I'm not on my putter throws, but I feel like the Pro Tour would be a really great option for me, and I've been dreaming about it ever since really I started playing, like maybe van life, maybe like hanging out with like the Gannon friend group, just getting to know some of those nice players on the tour. And the 3 Ezra problem, that might end up being a problem. We might try to have like a podium battle, 3 Ezras top of the podium.
Some Kramers, 3 Ezras.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any players on the Pro Tour that you're looking towards in terms of like inspiration, or like I want to follow that path? Or have you reached out to make connections with any of those? Maybe even some of like the younger players who are a little more your cohort. We had Luke Taylor on the show a little while ago, and he seems to be doing it. That's right. I could see you sort of going down that path a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anyone in particular who I really like aspire to just follow their path, but I definitely do think that the Alden Harris, Ezra Robinson, Isaac, Gannon, that friend group, like they're just such a cool friend group to just be a part of. Like they all just have such good attitudes, like for the most part, and they just seem like a fun group to hang out with, and they're always getting up to like shenanigans on and off the course. And like, yeah, that would just be awesome if maybe like, you know, Silas Schultz is in their friend group and they just have like those videos. If I could like make it on Alden Vlog, maybe then I've made it, you know?
I mean, at the end of a rip, I mean, there's an opportunity. They're going to be there. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm in the Discmania North America chat, so sometimes like Gannon and I cross class, it's like we're chatting about like a disc or something. But yeah, it would be super cool. Like a lot of the time in that chat, like people coordinate to like get practice rounds in together. So maybe, you know, I'll reach out and get some of those Discmania pros practicing for the rip. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you feel about an all Discmania card during the tournament? Get you, Gannon, Gavin, and Alden. We get those
awesome.
4 together all on court.
I'm gonna have to shout out Daryl Banks. Can you set up a little Discmania
Daryl, are you listening, Daryl?
Daryl. Yeah, that would be awesome. No,
I put in the good word.
There's definitely potential for there to be a lot of crossovers with the pros, for even first round mix ups, or like, you know, if I'm shooting good, hopefully I'll be on a card with some of those high caliber pros.
Yeah.
Hey, Jinx. I do love that as a metric for success, though, the being on the Alden Harris vlog. That's the best metric for success in disc golf I've heard so far.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead, man.
No, that's just it. They're such funny guys. I just want to, they seem like a load of fun on and off the course and just enjoying themselves wherever they are. Like, and just adventuring in the States is also such a cool thing to do. Even when you're off the tour, it's sometimes like a grind I see, and just like they're able to release and like just having fun together.
Yeah. It looks like that group has a wicked time, so I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But listen, we've taken up enough of your time, so we're looking to wind down. Before we let you go, I want to hit you with we call it like a lightning round. A couple of questions we ask all of our guests. So I'm not looking for like your deepest, most thoughtful answer unless you want to give it, but just, you know, we ask you a question, like first thing that comes to mind, throw it out there. And if you're good, we can hop into it. We got about 5 questions and we'll give you the floor and let you scamper off.
Let's do it. Hopefully I'm on.
Sweet. So whether you're on the road or like warming up for a tournament, song comes on that instantly makes you want to turn the volume up to max, sing your heart out. What is that song?
Oh, that's a hard one, because like there's a lot of them. I really resort to like Christian pump up rap. Like those songs get me going, and like some rock songs. Like if I'm really feeling it, I'll turn one up and I'll just get it blasting. and like something that gets me in the zone, or like just road trips, I'll just like have a huge playlist. But nothing really in particular, but most days I try to have like those last few songs in the car. They got to be the good ones, getting you ready for the tournament.
In between stops, maybe on a road trip, maybe going to a tournament, what's your favorite place or like your go-to place to stop for a nice bite to eat on the road?
So I've been chatting so much with everyone about this. Like I'm just envisioning it because I'm going to Michigan in a couple weeks. I was like at that Oakland County Championship with my dad. He was caddying me at Toboggan. We were just staying in Michigan, and they had an express near a hotel, and we had some Panda Express, and it was very good. Food. So I'm excited to get that again. And also Chick-fil-A is always a go-to. Sometimes I'll be on the road with like I was with Kaylin, and we stopped at an en route or like whatever it is in the States, and we're just thinking Chick-fil-A. And then we get there and we're like, it's Sunday, they're closed. And then we're all sad about it. We go crying home.
I forget where it is, but there's one that just opened in Ontario. I'm guessing you might know.
Yeah.
I love that, like, on the sign on the side of the highway, it says, like, closed on Sunday. It's just so, like, nobody gets off the highway for it.
The Kanye West song, closed on Sunday. You must Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're done your round, you're home, you're relaxing, you're recovering. Flipping through, us old people, we be flipping through channels. You don't do that anymore because you got, you're not an old. What is the movie that never gets old no matter how many times you watch it? You see it like, boom, instant click. I'm streaming that now.
I'm going to have to say Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio and some of those other actors I don't really know. I'm not a huge movie guru, but like if I'm with my friends, I'll say like Inception's one that it never really gets old because it's like a crazy thing to wrap your head around, but like it's also super entertaining, like just the action and then like the aura that the guys have that are acting it and definitely if I'm at a friend's house, I'll point and I'll be like, play Inception. They're like, we've seen it like 4 times with you. And I'm like, come on, one more.
Time for number 5.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like
that hallway scene is like,
oh yeah, it's a good movie. Well put
Cillian
together.
Murphy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
exactly.
At the time, I think Ellen Page,
the cast is Fast Robbie. Yeah. Robert.
Hundo P. Okay, so I don't know if it's before or after the movie, but we've been sort of like situating you in time throughout these questions. I don't know where to put you now. You finish the movie, you fall asleep, you wake up the next day, and you are building your dream card to play with. Can be current players, former players, non-disc golfers, anybody you want. If you could pick 3 people to play around a disc golf with, who would it be?
Okay. All right. This is a tough one. Because, you could go with the Pro Tour players, right? But, no. I'll put a couple of them on, but at the same time, I'll go with Joe Vanderveen, Dresden Aller from Elmer. He's a local kid. He's, 14, up-and-comer, trying to kind of, teach him the ways, try to show him what I did wrong so that he can learn quicker in my amateur career. He was playing flats. He had a good final round. Caddied him up in a bit. So yeah, he'd be on the card. Joe Vanderveen, awesome guy. I love that guy so much. He would be on the card. And then we'll toss a Pro Tour player in there. One of my favorite players is definitely Simon Lizotte. So we'll just toss him on. Yeah, he's a nice guy, class act. He's always entertaining everyone. So he's on the card.
That's going to be a fun round.
It would be a fun round.
Yeah, can't imagine not having a fun round with Simon on the card.
There'd be a couple bombs thrown,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You can show him the Ezra lines.
Sure. Yeah. I say gas Simon with that.
We're going to talk a little Worlds later after we let you get away. I don't necessarily get super starstruck around disc golfers, but the 2 biggest moments that I got starstruck, one of them involved Simon Lizotte. I was literally just in line at Worlds last year to order barbecue at like the players' social.
Yeah.
And I forget if he was in front of me or behind me, but I was just like, oh my God, Simon Lazat. It's like, what do I say? How do I have a conversation?
He's just a guy, though.
Yeah, and he was the chillest dude ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why probably as like fans of the sport we love him so much, is you can tell he is a wicked player. He likes to have fun, but he's also just a dude.
He's the entertainer.
Nice.
He's the entertainer. I'm saying, like, with his contract being so big and stuff, like, they're paying for him because he's given them that back, and he like sells this. He's entertaining. He's a nice guy. No one hates on him. So.
Nope.
That's a good deal.
The most beloved player on tour.
One more question.
All right.
Predictions for Worlds this week. Who do you think is going to take down MPO and FPO?
Okay, so there's a post on Instagram that I commented on. I might change my answer from that, but it was kind of just like, I'll toss it out there, forget about it. If he like messages maybe won the disc or whatever, I'll be happy about it. But I think I said Holland, Hanley, and Burr. But I'll have to say, like, Burr's probably going to be locked in for another major. He normally does that. And he's been a little bit off at the other tournaments, but it seems like he always shows up at the big ones. He's just locked in, doesn't really miss ever. I would say it's either between Holland Hanley, because she's been having a good season, or Tatar, because she's just like always on the ball at Worlds. Like, maybe
because she's Tatar.
She's Tatar. She's undoubtedly crazy. She's like 1,000 rated. So
I'm probably going to take those picks later on in the show.
Nice,
you jerk.
Ezra, we have had you for a while on here. Thank you so much for your time and joining us tonight. Before we let you go, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give or any comments? The floor is totally yours.
Okay. Shout out number one is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Kept me really calm and locked in for that tournament. I found my peace. Bible says peace beyond understanding. I was just flowing. Joe Vanderveen, mentor, disc golfer, awesome guy. Always keep grounded in my faith and actions and just disc golf. He throws a bomb, like 550 now, working with Slingshot. Dresden Soller and his brother Trey from Elmer. They're awesome up-and-coming disc golfers, and that friend group has some local talent. Marcus Enns just won Flats Classic in the junior version. First ever tournament, like he's playing 35 or something, which is better than I ever did in my first tournament. And then, my mom and dad, because they're supporters, they always help me, whether it's tournaments, prepping, chipping in some money for the travel. My dad always checks the scores, texts me after my rounds, cheers me, says he's proud of me. My mom, same thing. And my nana and papa, they're huge supporters. And then my great uncle Alec is like a golf mentor, super good with like the mental side of it. And he always texts me before tournaments and just randomly, and he'll just check in, see how it's going, and just walk me through exactly what I need to do for my round, and just say, you got this, great round. Like after a round, obviously, he'll just say, great round, looking forward to seeing what you do tomorrow. And he's hosted me for a couple tournaments in like the Bronte Creek little area around there and Christie Lake. So, that's most of the people that come to my mind for shout-outs.
Yeah, and also, of course, big shout-out to Discmania. Got to get the plastic in your hand.
Discmania and Art Disc Dies, my sponsors. Not going to forget them. Future Tour Disc Golf. They are the ultimate promoters. They help me out. They repost every story I tag them in. They sent me some merch. They sent me hats. They sent me a Putt Confidently solo. They sent me stickers, everything. I think my AirPods might have just died. But
we still got you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Future Tour. They're so awesome to work with, and Emerson Keith obviously was part of putting together that team, and they're just like super encouraging. They put together graphics for me before my tournaments and just like cheer me on, and they're ready for if I do make that next leap to the tour. So awesome. I got a huge group of people surrounding me. So shout out to Dawson.
That's what helps lead to success. People in your corner is a huge help. We can't do this on our own out here. We need people in our corner, and you've got a good crew.
Yeah.
Ezra, thank you so much, man, for joining. It has been a treat to get to know you over the past little while, seeing you at tournaments. Any single time that we run into each other, either I'll run up to you or you run up to me. You are, like I said in the intro, a true up-and-comer to watch, and you've got some fans here on Missed Mando for sure. So good luck with the rest of your season, everything going forward. I know I will see you out on the course, and keep kicking some ass out there, my man.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. Super kind of you.
Awesome. We will be right back on Missed Mando. Welcome back to Missed Mando. Thank you so much to Ezra for joining us. I am, like I said, as he was signing off there, I've gotten to know him a little bit, seen him at tournaments and whatnot. He is an awesome kid, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to root him on. And that was a great interview, eh, guys?
Absolutely. Really, awesome. Really impressed with him. And I think he's got a lot of potential in the sport, and it'll be fun to watch how he progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super impressed with his mindset at such a young age. It's really impressive for a young guy like him. But we will move on now to some Pro Tour recaps. And Sean, let's throw it over to you.
2 weekends ago, the Pro Tour held one of my favorite events of the season, the LWS Open at Idlewild, or what everybody just calls Idlewild. It's such a fantastic tournament to watch. The wooded course it's very challenging, but it's not like ridiculous like Northwood Black. And there are still lots of things can go very wrong very quickly for players to keep things really interesting. In MPO, Joey Buckets, Mr. Joseph Anderson, he put on a spectacular show on his way to winning his first Pro Tour event of his career at the course where he played his very first Pro Tour event. Buckets was in the mix from the start, only being out of first by 1 stroke by the end of the first round, 1 stroke by the end of the second round, and round 3, he's playing aggressive but keeping things really clean. Isaac Robinson, however, was going on a damn tear. He started off the final round 1 shot back of Joey in third place, and caught up to him by hole 4. By hole 12, Robinson was up 2 strokes over Anderson. And then Isaac seemed to forget how to play disc golf. Over the next 3 holes, Robinson went +6 in 3 holes, and Anderson went -2. And that was it. Robinson, he was out of it. And now it was between Anderson and the other Robinson, one of the Ezras. And by hole 16, Ezra got within 2 strokes. But Joey was not having any of that. He was not letting up. He birdies the last 2 holes, including an incredible almost eagle on hole 18. This shot was incredible. Patent pending around a tree, like, what was it, like 200 feet plus? And he puts it off the tray. You said 250 foot? Something like that?
250, I think, something like that, probably.
Puts it off the tray like 3 inches low of a throw in. It was an incredible shot, like highlight reel shot. That was very much the final nail in the coffin. It was all she wrote. He took it down. It was amazing. In FPO, things were much less exciting, but still fun to watch. By the end of the second round, Owen Scoggins was in the lead. She was up by 3. There were some of the greats weren't there this weekend. the Christians, the Pages and such. So it was great to see some names that we don't usually see sort of bubble up towards the top of the leaderboard have an opportunity. Deanne Carey's, Raven Klein's, Madison Walker. They were all up in the top 5 and playing great. On round 3, Own, I think, was just in autopilot and party mode and just crushing it. She goes -8 through 13, finishing with a final score of -10. Friend of the show, Natalie Ryan, had a fantastic final round, throwing an amazing -7 and moving up 4 places to finish second. For most of the season, I've been enjoying watching FPO over MPO, but for this event, it was definitely MPO was the exciting one to watch. Coming down that home stretch, you didn't know who was going to take it, and it was anyone's game, and it was amazing to watch. Let me throw it over to Robbie for stats and any thoughts.
I've got a couple stats that I picked out from this event. First of all, listening to your recap there, I love that it's like tradition that once a year, Deanne Carey will just pop up for like a podium or close to it. It's like, it's guaranteed. Once a season, you'll just pop up and Deanne Carey's there and you're like, whoa, what the heck? And it's like, oh yeah, she's still around, still kicking butt. Every once in a while, at least. Sorry, Dan. But for some stats on this one was weird to me. Owen Scoggins led the field in strokes gained tee to green with 22.18, and she actually lost strokes in C1X putting, minus 2.28 to the field. I'd have to go back and go tournament by tournament to figure out if Owen has ever been in the negatives in C1X or strokes gained C1X putting. Plus, to combine that with her leading the field in strokes gained tee to green, that's like the total opposite of what you would think Owen Scoggins' game plan normally is. But I love to see that. And Owen, she played 47 Elite Series and major events in FPO before her first win at last year's D-Glow. And in the 20 events since that, including D-Glow, she has 3 Elite Series wins, tied for third most in that stretch with Evelina Saladin behind Missy Gannon and, of course, Kristen Tatar, who has 7 wins in that time. But 0 in 47 to then 3 in 20 for Owen, just really showing that, she's aging like fine wine, as she, of course, is also FP40 world champion multiple times. So still coming on to the Open FPO and kicking ass. I mean, she's the second highest rated player in the world, probably second in Pro Tour standings right now. I haven't looked at that updated list in a while, but she's got to be up there. Over on the MPO side, Joey Buckets, Joseph Anderson, he becomes the 6th first-time Elite Series winner this season alone, joining Anthony Barella, Nicholas Antala, James Proctor, Andrew Presnell, and Jesse Nieminen. That is absolutely insane for one season. That's another one that I wish I could more easily research the stat on first-time winners in a season. I don't even know where I would start with researching that one. But I'd be willing to bet that that's the most first-time winners in a season in a very, very, very long time, seeing as we went through an era with Macbeth basically winning everything. In the last 8 years at Idlewild, there have been now 8 different MPO winners. 5 of those winners, it was their first Elite Series win. Something about Idlewild just brings out like a jumping point for people to start their career. And it's not just one-offs too. It was Kevin Jones got his first career Elite Series win here. James Conrad got his first career Elite Series win here. Isaac Robinson got his first career Elite Series win here. So the people that have won here for their first time have gone on to do great things afterwards as well. So, and Joey Buckets, he's had a great season so far. So very looking forward to seeing how Joey Buckets continues going forward. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's obviously very, very young. But not sure if he's like 20 yet or if he's a teenager.
Somewhere between 15 and 85, I think.
Oh, yes. That's great. Yeah. Sounds like the age range for like a board game. For ages
Unlike
15 to
Monopoly.
85.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it for my stats. Galen, let's throw it over to you for some of your thoughts, and you can get to your picks recap.
Yeah, I'm good to just hop to the picks recap. I think you guys did a pretty good job of summarizing the tournament. So, unsurprisingly, I'm going to start in reverse order here. But we actually had Robbie once again choosing a winner, taking Owen Scoggins, who took down number 1, Kyle Klein, T11, 12 total for an average of 6th overall. It's fine, I guess, for people who are into being good at disc golfers, whatever. Sean had the Gannon squared. I think I had that a couple of weeks back as well. Missy Gannon in FPO and Gannon Burr in MPO. Were they also a pairing for the World's Doubles, or did I imagine that? They were, right?
You are correct. I
love that. Missy Gannon finishing T12 and Gannon Burr at T8, which is honestly pretty low for both of them. I really like that ticket heading into the weekend, but average pick performance at 10 for Sean. And I had Holland. The one time Holland is poached from Robbie, and unfortunately she just doesn't deliver for me the way she does for Robbie. So it's just something special there. I can't come between you two. So Holland at T5, and I had Ricky, who again sort of an uncharacteristic performance, especially with this year, at T18, so averaging 11.5 for me. And I was sort of musing earlier. I'm very curious of what Robbie's record is with champions at this point. I think like who has had the best pick choice overall has fluctuated a fair bit. But as far as who has the most winners, I think it is clearly Robbie. I could be wrong.
There's no doubt.
I want to go back and see how many he has relative to Sean and I. So I might try to do a little bit of digging and look back at
I think I had a 2-week stretch where I got the MPO and FPO winner like back to back.
Yep, and then you took one of the winners the week after. You had 5 to 6. It was pretty sick. Yeah, bit of a heater that still somewhat continues with Owen in first. Anyway, I maybe after Worlds we'll have to take a look back at that and see how we're all doing on the year overall. Maybe if I have the time, I hope I do. I'll do an average pick performance for the year, and I'll do an average or who's got the most wins on the year, which I think is definitely
Love it.
And that's it for our Pro Tour event reviews, because it is Worlds Week. The tour took last week off. Welcome to Worlds Week. I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. I'm experiencing a little bit of FOMO here. This time last year, I was gearing up for a road trip down to Vermont with my good friend Brad Sharp, taking all of the excitement in person at Smugs. And to this day, I still have some of my favorite disc golf related memories of all time from that weekend. I sort of glossed over earlier, ordering barbecue next to Simon Lazat, watching Kyle Klein chase an oversized glow-in-the-dark foam frisbee all over the grounds at the Players Social, getting a preview of an upcoming TSA disc from Eric Oakley, playing through Kristen Tatar, or I guess letting Kristen Tatar play through us, but same difference. Worlds promises no shortage of excitement, and I am very sure this year will be no different for the disc golfing world than last year was for me. And this year, the Pro Tour is going to be making the first of, I am sure, many stops at New London Tech, the brainchild of the GOAT, 6-time world champion Paul McBeth. Of course, first opened to the public in April of 2021 and has played host to a very limited number of touring pros and sanctioned events in the years since. The biggest regular event we've seen at New London Tech thus far has been the Battle of Bedford, which is run as a B tier in the fall of each of the past 3 years. Now, I know we don't normally do detailed recaps of non-Ontario-based B tiers, but this is the one situation where I was like, no, I'm going to do some digging here. This feels appropriate. So back in 2021, for the first Battle of Bedford, Paul McBeth cleared the MPO field by 16 strokes en route to a 1060 rated tournament victory over second place Luke Sampson and a field of 110, which included a few decent names, Evan Smith, Gavin Babcock, Evan Scott, Zach Melton, Brody Smith, Luke Sampson, but not like every top pro as you would expect for a B tier. They just weren't all there. And that year, friend of the pod, Natalie Ryan, took down the FPO win over a small field of 9 in a playoff against Ellen Whitboom. And also in the field that year, we had Macy Bella Diaz and local Ontario legend Elaine King. In 2022, the Battle of Bedford was less well attended. In MPO, it was Randon Latta winning out over a field of 80, including Brody Smith, Evan Scott, Zach Melton, and an FPO 879 rated Caitlin Clay of Troy, New York, or notably my parents spent time when they were younger. That's the only thing I know about Troy. Took down a field of 5, which did not feature a single touring female pro. And then last year, in 2023, at the Battle of Bedford, we had Chris Dickerson taking down the MPO side with a 10-stroke victory over an 81-man field, including, again, some regular names here from the sort of top pros, Brody and Zach Bell. And an FPO, it was 901 rated Debbie Yu from Falls Church, Virginia, winning out over Holly Finley and Rossport, Ontario's own Irina Shapova. All this is to say, 2024 Worlds is going to be the first time the Pro Tour and New London Tech really get to feel each other. And of course, this year, as always, at Worlds, competition is going to be fierce. So instead of listing off the top pros in the running like I've been doing all year, it feels more appropriate to highlight a few names that aren't going to be there because everybody else is. So this year in MPO, we are not going to see Cole Radalman, who unfortunately was forced to DNF the Pro World Doubles event earlier this week due to a hip injury, out for at least a month. So he's not going to be playing. Paul Ulibarri is also not going to be there. He is nursing the injury that forced him to miss the European Open, European Disc Golf Festival, and Ledgestone. And we are not going to be seeing Una Heinonen and Mauri Vilman, 2 top European pros who will also be sitting out this year's Worlds. Every other MPO player in the top 75 of the PDGA's rankings will be there amid a field of 208 top pros on the MPO side. So just a little bit of competition. Over in FPO, we're going to be missing 2-time champ, and I'm glad somebody updated our show notes because I wasn't sure where she was in her journey. 2-time champ and new mom, Katrina Allen. She was 40 weeks pregnant 3 weeks ago, so we would have to assume that she's delivered at this point. Congrats to Katrina, and congrats to my comrades who updated those notes because I was trying to figure out what was going on with Katrina, where she was there, and I couldn't. We're also going to miss Rachel Turton, Katie Tati, and Katie Alaslu. Alaslu, I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name wrong. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but all European-based pros, no shockers there per se for them missing. We're also not going to see Juliana Corver, who took down the FP50 World Championship by cool 10 strokes earlier this year. And we're going to be missing best friend, not just friend of the pod, best friend of the pod, Sophia Dunica. And again, stacked. Every other FPO player in the top 50 is registered in a deep field of 89 FPO players. Going to be a heck of a tournament. I don't know about you guys. I am fired up. I was doing a little bit of research today to see who was playing, who wasn't, taking a look at the course. Excited to see this weekend, and excited to see Kristen Tatar and Isaac Robinson defend their titles. There is so much to talk about. I don't know what direction we want to take it in. Want to make sure I don't continue to yap my head off too much longer. So, gentlemen, maybe we'll throw to Sean first. What are your thoughts on Worlds this year?
I am absolutely psyched for this. I love Worlds. I love the excitement of it. The side events I've already been watching. Already been watching the mixed doubles coverage on online. They're playing 2 amazing courses this year. The Ivy Hill Golf Course and New London Tech. We've already talked New London Tech, Paul Macbeth's brainchild. Ivy Hill it's a golf course, but this is not your typical golf course on tour. This is more like if a golf course had a baby with toboggan. Sure. It has elevation at play on like almost every hole. And there are many with like severe rollaway risks. Hole 14 might have the scariest rollaway risk on tour. It goes a long way down and it ends at OB. Then on top of the elevation, these holes are pretty long. Then on top of the distance, there is OB and hazard everywhere. I think it's hole 3 or 4 where it's a downhill shot across hazard, across hay bales, and then it's a downhill slope towards OB. And so you have to land on a downhill slope from an elevated tee. That's legit terrifying. There's islands all over the place. This is definitely the toughest golf course being played on tour. And it looks to going like a lot of golf courses, it's kind of boring. It's like, oh, you throw. This is just like, no, you're kind of scared to throw every shot. It looks super, super fun. Can't wait to watch that. They'll be playing 3 rounds there. And then they'll be playing 2 rounds at London Tech, which is basically the opposite of Ivy Hill. This course is long. It is wooded. It not much in the way of elevation or topography that seems to be coming into play. A little bit, of course, but nothing like Ivy Hill. It has some OB, but it'll be like OB down one side, a couple little OB spots here and there, but nowhere near as much as Ivy. But where there isn't OB, there basically is like really, really dense woods that the players might wish was OB because they didn't have to throw out of it. This course is going to demand really big distance shots with precision landing zones. And if you miss those landing zones, it will be very tough to get birdies because you're going around a corner and you can't get there from where you landed. So this will be a test of really power precision shots. It's going to be super fun to see how the full tour takes us down because as Galen said, most of them haven't really seen it before in competition. Robbie, throw it over to you. What are you looking forward to? What are you seeing so far?
Was able to watch, and for anyone that hasn't been able to see these courses at all, Ezra Aderhold and Aaron Gossage have put up course reviews of both of these courses onto their YouTube, the front 9 on Ezra's channel and the back 9 on Goose's channel. Great course reviews. I never really watched much of their course reviews before. I know Ezra does it for like basically every tournament that I see him on my YouTube all the time. I've never really taken the time to watch it, but I was really impressed, especially listening to Gossage and the way that he breaks down how the hole is designed and like the different thoughts of angle control into the slope and just all different aspects of like truly breaking a hole down in every single way that you can. Was just really impressive to hear him and his thoughts on all the holes. And Ivy Hills, they were both just like blown away by that course and how it's looking. It looks tough. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to result in a phenomenal World Championships, especially when you tie in the fact that it's combined with New London Tech, which, like you said, is basically the total opposite, being very heavily wooded. So the combination of those two courses, I think, is absolutely perfect. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's Worlds Week. I'm pumped. 5 days of disc golf starting on Wednesday, leading all the way up to Sunday. It's going to be great. We'll get into picks in a little bit here coming up. But a couple of the side events already went down. Sean, I'll throw it over to you in a sec for some others. But in mixed doubles, we had already talked about it with Gannon Squared for whoever picked that in our picks for LWS. I forget who had Gannon Squared. Was that Sean? Galen? I don't know. One of you two. They unfortunately did not win. As I mentioned, they lost out to Joel Freeman and Owen Scoggins, who took it down over the double Gannons, like we said, and Silverlot / Kristen Tatar. That was I believe the filmed round that they have on YouTube, I believe, was Kristen Silver and the double Gannons, I believe. Sean, am I right on that? You said you were watching them? Perfect. So yeah, you can check that out on YouTube.
On behalf of Sean and Gabby, I want to be clear that if Silver was not playing and it was Kristen Cowley, they would have taken it down. Or yeah, would have taken it down.
100%. Well, I mean, I don't know if Silver was caddying for her, though. I mean, can you caddy and play at the same time?
It's just they have magnetic fields. They have magnetic fields.
That's true.
It was in too close of a radius. Yeah.
There was no chance. No chance they could.
Yeah. No chance. And I believe actually this is Joel Freeman and Owen Scoggins defending their title from last year as well. Mm-hmm. So now going back to back at the mixed doubles world championship.
Team Innova.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Solid.
They're rocking it against team is Silver Latitude as well? He is? Okay, so Team Latitude and then double Gannons are all over the place.
That's Team Kristen and the other guy. And then
it's true. That's true. But over on the long drive competition, which happened as well, Anthony Barella, no shocker. He won at the skills competition at the skills showcase to start the year, and he backs it up. He wins it again with a 698-foot bomb. Ezra Aderhold placing second with a 691-foot bomb, coming up 7 feet short. And friend of the show, Thomas Gilbert, placed fourth with a 655-foot match. Bombs. Over in FPO, Heidi Line took it down with a 522-foot throw, beating out Ella Hansen's 515 feet that she got on her throw. But Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you for the other two.
The putting competition was next, and Ezra Robinson takes it down for MPO over, I love this, Scott Stoke.
Unreal. And
third place was friend of the show, Chandler Fry. Fantastic. Just, I hope that there's some footage of this because I definitely want to watch this. Over on FPO, listen, this is truly the most shocking result of this entire thing. The putting contest was won by Owen Scoggins.
She was losing strokes putting in her last tournament. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we thought she was totally washed up for putting, but it turns out, no, she actually does know how to do it. She beat Cadence Burge by like 7 points, which was in the putting competition. It's a fairly notable amount. Then the last side competition was the skill shot. And in this one, Madison Walker took it down in FPO, and Dylan Horst, who I am not familiar with, he took it down in MPO. Our good buddy, Thomas Gilbert, he finished fourth. So, I mean, these side events are looking pretty good for Thomas this year. Hopefully it's a good sign leading into competition, which starts. I mean, we're going to release this show on Thursday, so round 2 has already happened, and we just assume that Thomas Gilbert is in first place.
Yeah, lead card check-in.
Absolutely. And so that brings us to the Canadians in the field. There are 6 Canadians playing in Worlds, and love to see it. So, of course, friends of the show, Thomas Gilbert and Chris Ozolins, and West Coast Max Regitnig are playing in MPO. And in FPO is, again, friend of the show, Chantal Badinsky, Quebec's Karen Martel, and Toronto's own, the pride of Toronto, Kat Johnson. Absolutely looking forward to seeing how they do in this event and seeing them put up some great numbers. I was chatting with Kat a day or so ago, and she had just finished her practice round at Ivy. And she said that Ivy may have more elevation than Toboggan. And that is not something I expected on a golf course. It's going to be wild. I can't wait.
That is crazy. Yeah, I can't wait to hear from our friends of the pod about how their world experiences are once they're back. I can't wait to see them shred prior to that so they can tell us about how great they played. For sure. If you guys feel good about that, I think we've covered just about every angle that we can reasonably of Worlds. Why don't we go to some picks, if you guys are good with that? All right, so we'll go first to Robbie, and then to Sean for your FPO and MPO picks. And then when you're done, I'll take the 2 players who are actually going to win. So for now, over to you, Robbie, for a second or third place at best choice.
I appreciate that. Wow. This is almost a spot where I don't want to have the first pick, and I want to just kind of react to what you guys pick and make my picks from there. It's so interesting because we have like no idea how these players play on these courses. We have no basis to go off of with the very few that played in the battle for Bedford, like Galen was talking about. But
and rounds at Ivy, we got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 rounds. Yeah, 2 rounds at New London, 3 at Ivy. In FPO, the smart pick, of course, is just to go with Kristen Tatar. And I'm not going to do that. I wasn't overly confident with the way that Kristen played at European Open and the European Disc Golf Festival, even though she did get the win.
So what you're saying is her dropping from 1,000 rated down to 998.
Yeah,
Robbie Holden says Kristen Tatar is washed up. Is that
red
what
alert?
saying?
Kristen Tatar washed.
Absolute bum.
Put a fork in her.
Totally washed.
Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Yeah,
this is partly just me running with my theme for the year, but I also do believe that she can absolutely go out and take it down, and I'm gonna just continue to pick her, my girl for the 2024 season, Holland Handley. She's gonna take it down. Although actually, I got both of my gals from the 2024 season. Silva Saarinen is also here, and I went on quite the run with her in Europe. But I'm gonna go with Holland Handley. I think that even if she doesn't win, she'll have a great performance. So going for that average, but I think she can take it down.
She shows up in big moments. Like she podiumed last year at Worlds.
She has podium every single time she's played Worlds. I'm pretty sure she's finished third literally every time she's played Worlds. She also beat Kristen in a playoff at Throw Pink last year in what most people would consider a major. There actually will bring this up in a little bit with just some quick other topics, but the Disc Golf Fandom Survey is out right now, and another podcast that I love to listen to, Alti World, The Upshot, they had on one of the creators of that survey, and he said that in early results so far, I guess there's a question of how you rank the importance of majors, and Throw Pink was not the lowest rated FPO major. They didn't give the whole list, but basically was saying that people view Throw Pink as more important than another major, which I'm going to assume is U.S. Women's, maybe European Open for the FPO. I'm not really sure, but either way, Throw Pink is important. It's basically a major. Holland beat her there, so I'm going to go with Holland here. And on the MPO side, I am going to go. This is probably, definitely a part of just like a hopeful thinking type pick, because I would love to see this player break their major drought streak. And he's had a great season so far. And I'm going to go with Mr. Ricky Wysocki. Ricky Wysocki. Yeah, those are my picks.
Love it. We can figure out the order for this, but I think we should also add and credit to Sean for the idea, a dark horse to pop off from below 10th rated. I'm going to suggest that maybe we cycle through our picks for the win. So maybe we go to Sean and then me for the winners, and then back to Robbie and cycle through.
Give me some time to look at the registration list.
Yeah. All right, Sean.
What did we say? Below the 10th highest rated?
Yep.
Okay. So this is not going to be exciting for me. There is one player who has been completely dominant in 4-round tournaments specifically. And he seems to, when endurance is a factor, he seems to have an extra gear. I know it's kind of a boring pick, but I got to take Gannon Burr. Number one at big, long events like this. And he's hungry for a Worlds. I think no one is going to really push as hard for one as Gannon. So I'm going to take Gannon Burr on the MPO side. On FPO, I know, yeah, Kristen, of course, but no, I don't, for some reason, and it makes absolutely no sense. I don't think she's going to take it this year. I don't, and I want to leave her for Galen. Leave it for Galen. I'm not I'm going to go. I kind of want to go Own, but because I think Own can really tear up New London, even though it doesn't have she doesn't have the length that some of the other players have, but she's got the precision. And I think New London is going to take precision. And when you watch Ivy, some of the practice rounds by some of the players, like, it is going to take precision to not roll away 800 feet down a hill. So my FPO pick is going to be Own Scoggins. What about you, Galen?
Well, I can't get mad at either of those picks, especially because they leave my preferred choices on the table. But they're also just great choices and great rationale. Sorry, just really quickly, Robbie, who was your pick over in MPO?
MPO was Mr. Ricky Wazaki.
Ricky everywhere. Okay, well, that gives me, two relatively, maybe that's a little dramatic, simple choices. I mean, we were talking about it for our fantasy picks to start the year. I had almost an identical line that I said then, I think, what I'm about to say, which is, if you had told me that I would be able to pick the number one rated FPO and MPO players coming into 2024 on the MPO and FPO side, while picking in last place, I would have said you're absolutely nuts. That's crazy. Why would they still be on the board? And that sentiment persists today. You might not have had the year as far as tournaments are concerned that we all might have expected coming out of last year, but I've seen some great performances from Calvin Heimberg, and he has showed up in big moments. He podiumed at Ledgestone. He podiumed at Idlewild. Looking further back, he won the President's Cup. He's got a few W's. One DDO. I know it's 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago at this point, but he has proven that even in like what I would call a challenging season, that he can show up in some of the biggest moments. So I might have taken one of the other guys if they were available to me, but I have no qualms at all taking Calvin Heimberg as my choice in MPO. Over at FPO, it is an exceedingly easy choice. I might be forced to eat my words in a couple of days, or I guess it'll be about a week and a half, 2 weeks when we record our next podcast. But are you guys out of your minds? How did you take two players and neither of them were the only player to have ever had a rating at or above 1,000 in FPO, the reigning and defending two-time world champion, and somebody who I believe has more wins at the Silver Series level or above this year than anybody else? I'm not entirely sure. I haven't checked those stats, but she took down Waco, she took down Music City, took down Jonesboro, took down Crokel, took down the European Open, back-to-back champ, 998 rated, what a bum, Kristen Tatar.
Clearly washed, no chance.
Yeah, clearly washed, but I will take my chances with the washed Kristen Tatar and the effervescent Calvin Heimberg any day. I'll put those picks up against any and all of y'all.
You're going to be putting your picks up against ours.
Given the size of the MPO field, it is very odd. The odds are very good that Silver Lat will be tied up playing his own rounds and will not be available to caddy for her. So that's a solid and a shrewd pick. Picking the world's number one rated player, based entirely on Silver Lat's tournament schedule. I commend you for that.
Yeah, well, I hadn't even considered all the factors I was mentioning. I was just trying to occupy some oxygen.
Of course.
I needed to talk for a minute or two before I made the pick, so I brought all that stuff up. But yeah, no, I saw, the odds that Silver is going to be your caddy are so low. So I was like, I should choose the player who's not being caddied by Silver.
100%.
And just happen to be Kristen. So
yeah.
It's great. Well, hopefully we've given you enough time, Robbie, to review the player list here. Over to you for a dark horse FPO and MPO pick.
Yes, I will make it nice and easy on the MPO side. I'm going Anthony Barella. He just clears our criteria for dark horse being outside the top 10 highest rated. And I think that he can do very, very, very well at Ivy Hills. Long downhill shots that require lots of speed control. He's going to be throwing that green Luna around like crazy out there, where other players are...
Yellow Luna, please.
I thought it was green. I thought it was a green Luna.
I think it's yellow.
I don't know.
Which one of you is colorblind right now?
No, yeah, it's a bigger problem we're discovering here. But yeah, I'm going to go with AB. He's obviously had a fantastic season, can get himself right back into Player of the Year conversations with a major win to go along with his 4 Elite Series wins. Over on the FPO side, I'm having a little bit of a harder time deciding, but you know what? I'm feeling it. The force is strong with this one, and I am going with Anakin Sten.
This guy won.
I don't know what lightsaber is, or I'd bring it out right now.
Yeah, I don't have one. We can pause. I'll just go buy one and bring it back. Anything for you, Robbie. Okay, please. I like it. I can't hate on either of those picks. Those are solid picks and players that maybe in Anakin's case, I would have figured to start the year would be available outside the top 10, but like with the way the season has gone, I'm like, that is a clutch pick.
Right.
And AB outside of the top 10 as a dark horse is huge. Shawnee G, how about you?
I'm starting in MPO. I'm going to go... I think the weather is going to be a little hot for James Proctor, so I'm not going to pick him. He had a rough time in the heat in a recent tournament. So I'll go... we haven't really heard that much from this guy in a little while, but, he hasn't won Worlds, so I'm going to go Simon Lizotte. I don't really have a good reason for that. But Simon's awesome. So
I had a name in mind who I really thought you were going to take, who I'm going to take in a minute.
Okay.
Your description would have fit perfectly, so I'm glad you didn't take that person.
Perfect. Down on the FPO side, let's go with friend of the show, Rebecca Cox. I think she's just going to keep having a fantastic season, and I like to see her, and I think she's going to pop up on this one as well. She's been doing it all season.
For
Why not? No, I don't see reason why she's going to stop it now. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I love both of those choices. Again, I can't fight with either of those decisions. For me, so that to take away the suspense, the guy who I thought you might be describing, we haven't heard from him in a while, but he can pop off. I'm going to go with Eagle McMahon. He has had 2, I was going to say middling, not middling, like 2 actively like bad tournaments that he's coming directly off of. He finished 61st in the European Open and 60th in the European Disc Golf Festival. He's also, at his best, a top 3 player in the world. Like, prior to his injury last year, I thought there was a really good chance that he was going to emerge this year as the dominant MPO player.
May I give you a data point, just
please,
in case you want to reconsider? He was in the long drive competition. How far would you think that he threw?
Oh, I would assume he
Obviously,
threw very far, but based on you bringing it up, I'm sure it has to be below expectations. So normally I would expect Eagle would be right up at the top there. We had 2 guys at in the 690s. I would have figured he would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be bringing it up unless he was throwing much below his average distance. So I'm going to say he threw at his maximum 563 feet.
492, I believe, is his number. So, based on a sub 500 foot throw in a distance competition, do you want to reconsider your dark horse pick?
I appreciate you giving me an out. It's very kind of you, but I got to stick to my guns. I didn't realize his top distance competition throw was going to be quite so far down the leaderboard. Maybe I should be thinking of pivoting to James Proctor, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go Eagle McMahon for the performance of the year. And perhaps I've earned myself a little bit of good karma there, because I was going to ask you guys for some special consideration here. So for my dark horse pick on the FPO side, this is the player I was going to pick as my top choice. And then I just couldn't wrench myself away from Kristen Tatar because you let her fall. Natalie Ryan is 10th. With the caveat that she was going to be my first overall choice, if not for the fact that Kristen was still there, would you consider allowing me to take the 10th highest rated FPO player as my dark horse, or should I choose somebody further down? I'm gonna throw it out there and see what you guys think.
We are nothing if not generous to you, so please go ahead and take it.
All right. So I will take the sub 500 throwing Eloy Man, and I will take the I don't know how far she's throwing Natalie Ryan as my my two choices here.
Friend of the show, how can we say no to that?
Absolutely. And finished back to back seconds in her last two events. So took down second at Des Moines and second at Idlewild. I like what Natalie's cooking.
The real question is, why did Robbie not pick a friend of the show for either of his picks?
Because he's
Really-
a bad person.
really
Doesn't appreciate our
disappointing.
guests. Is what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I think so
Because
too.
I'm an asshole.
Yes.
I'm an asshole, an asshole, an asshole. I don't know if you guys know that song.
I do.
We're old.
Yeah, Dennis Leary, baby. Yes, I was heavily debating on Rebecca Cox for the FBO pick. Definitely think that she can do well out there. So good pick for you, Shawnee G. But when you have the first pick and you got that many options, I mean, sometimes you just don't make the cut. Sorry, friends of the pod. I'll just make more friends of the pod. That's what we'll do. We'll have on my pick so that they can become friends of the pod. That's what we'll do. Love that thought. Anything else from you guys before we wrap up our Worlds preview? All good there. Well, it is Worlds Week. We are so excited here on Missed Mando. We will be tuning in to lots of disc golf. Make sure you've got your DGN subscription ready. Make sure that you're got your alarms set. When your favorite players are teeing off. It's going to be a fun week, and that's going to do it for us here on Missed Mando. This has been a jam-packed show. Really great show. Thank you so much to Ezra Lockington for joining us for an interview again. And for Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu Harris, I'm Robbie Holden, and we will see you out on the course.